Thank you for joining us here in our wharakarakia here at our Hamilton campus. And in particular, I wish to acknowledge those who are joining us for the live stream component of this particular presentation. We do find ourselves in a position where we had large numbers during our first presentation. This is our second presentation this evening. Could be better, could be worse. You can be the judge in a little wee while, but it's wonderful that this is being live streamed to those who are at home. What I would like to say from the outset is we're delighted that you've invested the time to be here to receive what we see as being critical information on our new program of learning, and in particular the benefit that we see with reference to the St Paul's Diploma. As we start, recognise the space in which you are seated, in which I stand, and as such would like to offer a short karakia as we begin. So kino tātou, let us pray. Kia tau, kia tātou katoa. Te atawhaia tātou riki e I kuraite, me te aroa o te atua, me te whiwhina tahitanga, ki te wairua tapu, ake, āmene. So it is with real delight that we invite you into this space, and for the next 25 minutes or so take you through some key developments, some changes that were implemented at the beginning of this year and continue with further implementation to additional aspects of our new program of learning in 2024. I'm joined here in the sanctuary this evening by Mr. Jeremy Coley, who's our Deputy Headmaster in charge of curriculum and assessment. And between the two of us, we'll jump backwards and forwards here from the lectern. In advance, I do wish to just let you know that the PowerPoint that we'll work through will be available on the school website as of tomorrow, and there will be a published recording of this particular current live stream so that you can jump onto our YouTube channel in the days ahead and re-watch this if there are aspects that you wish to clarify for your further understanding. At this point in time, I welcome Mr. Coley to address you accordingly.
Thank you, Headmaster. Ngā mihi o te pō. It's a real pleasure today to share with you a little bit about why we decided to look at the creation of the St Paul's Diploma. And I did not pick this PowerPoint slide, but I want to take us back a little bit to probably early 2021, where we decided as a staff to really examine what we're teaching and how we're teaching. And we're talking about both content and skill. And really it comes down to, obviously, the child is at the heart of the matter, the student is at the heart of the matter, be it our young men and women. And we really took a chance in undertaking a curriculum review to look at how we can enhance student learning, engagement, experience and outcomes, and in particular, what will really prepare them for level 2, level 3 and beyond the school gates, and whatever that looks like for people. And so it really became quite a liberating process to kind of peel things back and look at how best that we think as a school we can prepare our young men and women. So we looked at the why and the principles of what guided us, and I won't go through all these that are currently on the slide, but we were committed to meeting the needs of all learners, and that's diverse, as you know. We've all sat in classrooms here, we've all been a part of the greater world where everyone kind of brings different things to the table. So it's certainly, our diploma is aimed at all learners, not at a specific type of learner. We have very high expectations of what we expect, and I'll get to some of that a little bit later. It had to be inclusive, culturally diverse. We have to honour Te Tiriti o Waitangi. We have to look at, and we did look at, community engagement. We also want to be future focused and not be locked into a style without consistent review. We certainly looked at what was the best pedagogical kind of research both here and abroad, and we had a lead team really engaging with schools both here and overseas, and kind of looked at, yeah, that works for them, it doesn't work for us, but we really think our kura can utilise some aspects here and there, but really it was about what is for our learners, because it's a very different situation from other schools. But it has to be robust, and it has to prepare students to graduate here. It has been a process that has involved a lot of discussion with staff and students and what they would like. We have sought their feedback as well. So looking at the time frame here, and we are looking at probably obviously the year 9 and 10, and Headmaster will talk to this a little bit shortly, and the year 11 on a slightly different time frame. But obviously we looked at the scope and sequence, what we really needed to include. The investigation process was thorough, and some decisions were made in consultation with staff and students, and we're obviously designing and implementing at different timeframes, be it from the year 9 and 10 through to the year 11 academic side of the diploma, and we'll focus on the year 11 academic side in a little while. But now I'll just ask the Headmaster back up to talk you through the next 3 slides.
Thank you, Mr. Coley. Before we jump to what Year 9 looks like this year, I do just wish to highlight for a moment the slide that Mr. Coley has just been through for the express purpose of demonstrating that I know many of you will have watched over news cycles, particularly in the last 6 months, as a number of schools around the motu around our country have looked at their Year 11 syllabus, the Year 11 assessment, and decided to create, design, implement different types of models of learning and assessment. What I wish to demonstrate by showing you this slide again is this has been conversation piece for our staff all the way back to Term 3 2021. It was early in 2022 that we determined that there would be a different learning program for our Year 11 students in particular, commencing at the start of next year, and there has been tireless efforts that have been put in place in order to prepare for what that should look like. Changes at Year 9 and Year 10 were implemented at the start of this academic year. First and foremost, they began with us reviewing how many periods are offered each day, the length of those periods. There are aspects, particularly for whānau here this evening, who have students currently at the school, because I appreciate that's not the case for everybody in the audience, but for those who currently have students at the school, you'll recognise a later start on a Wednesday. The opportunity for a midweek reset, a slightly longer emphasis on sleep for our students, smack bang in the middle of the week, so that they can refresh and they can review ahead of the rest of the week. That also provided an opportune time for our staff to still arrive and be ready, but to be learners themselves at 8 a.m. every Wednesday morning for that particular journey of acquiring knowledge and constantly improving your practice is relevant and pertinent to one and to all. What we have done, however, since the start of this year is changed the distribution, the allocation of subjects and of timings for our Year 9 students. And I know this won't be applicable to everybody in the audience this evening, but we do wish to give you an overview for our program of learning. The diploma begins in Year 9. And it begins in Year 9 because in Year 9 there is a real focus for us in having a breadth of experiences across different academic subjects. You will see there that for a number of subjects who have traditionally been thought of when we think of a traditional education, mathematics, science, social studies and English, on a fortnightly basis, they almost have those subjects each and every day. Bearing in mind that we have 6 subjects a day, 30 periods a week, and we have 60 periods a fortnight, this is a component breakdown across those 60 periods. And I remind you again that this PowerPoint will be available tomorrow for you to refer back to, as will be the recording of this presentation. There's a couple of points of notes here that I do wish to highlight. When you consider English, fourth across on the top line, at 7 periods per fortnight, the question may be asked, well, why isn't that every day, considering the importance of reading and writing? However, if you drop to the next line, third across, you will see French or Spanish or literacy/numeracy. 30% of our current Year 9 students are doing French or doing Spanish as an option subject 4 times a fortnight. However, it is 70% of our Year 9 students who gain an additional 4 periods every fortnight of literacy and numeracy. This is critical for us as a school. Foundation strength of knowledge with reference to reading, writing and arithmetic, we believe are critical for ongoing and future success. Equally, as you look across that bottom line, a raft of different experiences across different curriculum areas is also key for us. Included within that, the letter M, referring to masterclasses, has been instigated this year for our Year 9 students, where they have agency or choice. They can choose a half-year course or a full-year course in a particular topic that our staff are offering that may be of genuine interest or fascination to them. This year it includes subjects such as coding, as architecture, sculpture, photography, the language of crime, public speaking. All of these are interest subjects that provide somewhat of a sandpit for a student to express themselves and in the process to acquire additional knowledge and skills. The very last on the bottom line is something which I would like to highlight as being critically important to us. That has been the introduction of compulsory te reo and tikanga Māori here on our campus. We have put a stake in the ground, essentially to say as proud citizens of Aotearoa, New Zealand, that to be responsive and to be ready for life beyond our gates, all of our students who arrive in Year 9 need exposure to the beauty that is te reo Māori language itself. When we look at the Year 10 curriculum this year, and I note that some in the audience have a son who is currently in Year 10, while others will have a son moving into Year 10, this is what is on offer. Again, 60 periods over a fortnight, a 30-period week, where as you make your way across the top line, in those particular traditional key subjects, there is essentially almost on a daily basis connection with the staff teacher of that particular subject knowledge. For us, it's critical to have inspiring teachers, but importantly, to have teachers who are expert in terms of knowledge, not generalists by their nature, but very passionate in the discipline from which they have studied at a tertiary level. You'll notice on the second line here, the numbers 1, 2, 3. What has been critical for us is whilst there is a depth of study, that there is agency for our young men at Year 10 as they look to choose what it is that they wish to study at a greater depth. And you can see at the bottom of this slide the variety of different subjects that have been available for our Year 10 students this year and will continue to be available next year. With reference to the end of the second line, as is the case in Year 9, we place great emphasis on instruction in physical education, health curriculum, and in religious education. We see these as part of the holistic development of the young men as they make their way through Year 9 and Year 10. With respect to Year 11, looking into what lays on the horizon, there will be a program of learning that consists of 6 subjects. There are some schools across the country that will offer 5. There are others that will have a combination of different courses available. For us, what has been critical in the design of the St Paul's Diploma is that having 6 subjects means that every single day a young man or a young woman has the ability to connect with that disciplinary expert and to be engaged in that particular pursuit of learning. Importantly, having 3 subjects that are available in terms of pure agency, that is choice to decide what to study, and giving some examples there across the bottom, music or financial management, which is accounting. And I do wish to stress that part of this design is that we are fixated, and rightly so, on keeping individual disciplinary knowledge upheld as being individual by its very nature. And what I expressly mean by that is that accounting will remain accounting. It is different to economics, and that is different to business studies. There are 3 different subjects, and they will remain so within this program of learning. Similarly, when a student is looking at picking a science subject, there are 5 different options available to them, and they have to pick at least one. Of those 5 options, there is biology, chemistry, and physics. These are all different disciplines in their own right, and the academic knowledge, the theory, and the application of that knowledge must be upheld, and as such we will continue with a program of learning that provides the option to study 2 of those, but at least one. Other science options within that particular realm are the ability to study ag-hort, or to pick a general science subject, which typically would be for students that have very little locked-in decision-making around what they wish to do at year 12 and 13, or maybe who in the academic sense have struggled in terms of some of their learning, and for them at year 11 success may look slightly different, and having a breadth and having a taster across each subject is the key for their ongoing learning journey. But for us around here, we are particularly passionate about making sure in the spaces of science and in commerce in particular that those individual disciplines remain individualised.
And I'd just like to pick up on one thing the headmaster intimated was our focus on literacy and numeracy, and the co-requisites that will appear and do appear for NCEA will still be a focus for our students, and that's 10 numeracy credits and 10 literacy credits in reading and writing. So that's still going to be a part of their journey, and we've had people, students in year 10 this year, trial that. So going through our points of difference, some of it's already been covered, but the skills that we see as really valuable in terms of the disciplines of particular subjects, and I think the headmaster covered that really, really well, but it's just that robustness and that preparation for level 2 and beyond the school gates here at Hukanui Road. We really, really put a lot of time and effort into thinking what is best and what is best going to prepare our students for success. And we have not overlooked what is robust and rigorous, hence we have not overlooked examinations or academic honours, which shortly I'll go through in a little bit more depth. And we've looked at the need to cater for a variety of learners, but a variety of assessment types, and it's not all one mode. So we're going to look at that shortly also, and we need to have real-world application, and that's something that we're building into our programs, and people are putting a lot of time and effort in design of. And once again, I'll reiterate that 6 subjects will be taken at year 11, which is not always the way at all high schools. So moving on to just an overview, and if you look at these particular pointers, so 6 subjects are taken. There'll be 4 common assessment tasks, or CATs is the acronym, I suppose, and one of them will be very familiar, the type of test that you would have at the end of a unit of work, the end of a kind of a period of learning, and that will occur along with a portfolio. Now, take in mind, this is for all subjects that the students will take. And a portfolio, if I give you an English example, for example, a portfolio would go across a period of time, and it could be a writing portfolio. They might begin the year looking at a piece of creative writing. Further on later in the year, they might do autobiographical piece, or it could be a travel piece, and so on and so forth, with the idea that development over time and going to re-look at something gives them the benefit of improvement. And different subjects will have different portfolios, and they're into different design phases of those. I'm really excited about what they're coming up with, and you might be able to chat or have chatted about that already over at the Lander Centre. We see the importance of collaboration moving into the workforce, and not being siloed in our work ethic and kind of focus. So there will be times that students will have to work with others, and that will be in a number of different assessments. Some people will do a collaborative speech, could be presenting a product design, etc. And there'll be different subjects looking at different ways to do that, technology also. And we do see the value of examinations. We still see that as part of a rigorous and robust education moving forward, and especially into university life, where that is still a big part. So examinations will form the fourth common assessment task. The 0.8 to scale, some could say 1 to 8, really is per assessment. So there's 32 points per subject, 6 subjects equal 192 points. And to get the academic side of the diploma, it is 100 over 192, which is just a little bit over 50%. To get academic honours, a student will achieve 155 over 192 points. And I'll let the headmaster take you through some other examples.
Thank you, Mr. Coley. 155 over 192, just slightly over 80%. No doubt you're looking at this slide and still thinking, why 0 to 8? Could you not just make it 0 to 10? And we'd know whether it's 70% result or a 50% result or the like. What I can tell you is, as Mr. Coley mentioned earlier on, this particular program of learning has been designed by looking at best practice both domestically and internationally. Without boring you, there's a psychology behind 0 to 8 that certainly makes what we're venturing into very, very worthwhile indeed. What I can tell you is that when you are working from a 0 to 8, we will be constantly referencing for students that the work that they output in year 11 does correspond to what comes next. For merely if you start to consider results like a 7 or an 8 out of 8, then logically that would be that a student typically with performance of a similar type of level could expect an excellence when they move into NCEA level 2. So there is a sense of preparing because again that has been our why right the way from the outset. How do we best prepare students for year 12 and beyond? For the vast majority of our students, that is NCEA level 2, with a real move towards the top of those in the academic space, working towards NCEA level 4, which is commonly known as NZQA scholarship examinations. Those are really important to us, and I'll mention that shortly. But when we do talk of a scale of 0 to 8, what I do wish to highlight for you is that we will then use graphics to report back. So what you can be absolutely rest assured is as we make changes and we instigate the St Paul's Diploma, you'll still continue to receive fortnightly reports and have an insight into the application that your young man or that your young woman is performing from an attitude and effort perspective in a classroom. But you will receive these types of graphics that then will also come in a table form. And I wish to share for you 3 different tables, excuse me, each for a deliberate purpose. So this first table is a student who has achieved 145 points out of a maximum of 192. We share this table with you in particular to note that hypothetically the student has performed very strongly in many different subjects until you get down to the bottom line, which is history, where there has been regular scores in each of the common assessment tasks of 5 out of 8. I deliberately said when they were designing these hypotheticals to make sure that history was the 5 out of 8, so I could tell you it is likely that this student studied with me, bearing in mind I used to teach history for a long period of time. Maybe it was that they were in my class, that is exceptional teaching in 5 subject areas until they arrived at history each day, and maybe the 5 out of 8 was a reflection of my teaching as opposed to their particular performance. But I share this with you to demonstrate that a student can score very highly, 145, yet there may be some particular subject within that where they haven't necessarily done as well. If we look at hypothetical student number 2, you will see here that at 115, that it has been that the academic side of the diploma has been met. That is, that there's been over 100 points gained. Importantly, as you look through this though, there are examples of this hypothetical student struggling in a couple of subjects. In fact, if you look at the marks or the points acquired in English, there are 2 of those common assessment tasks where the student has not met what you would typically call the median threshold. And as such, there would be concern as a parent in the first instance looking at English in isolation, but then across the other 5 subjects, all adding up to end up with a score that certainly comfortably goes over that threshold. We share this with you because tonight we are stressing that this is rigorous, that there is robust assessment, that we want to challenge all of our young men and women, but we also want them to experience success. So we don't want to do that at the risk of saying there is a bell-shaped curve, or there are some students who will gain the diploma and others who won't. If students are applying themselves, if they're preparing well, if they're engaging in classrooms, then it is our intention that with work it comes outcome of success and the granting of that diploma. To this end, a student can be struggling in a subject or 2 and still comfortably reach that threshold of 100. And then finally, hypothetical student number 3 with a total point score of 162, and as such has surpassed the 155 mark, and in doing so gains the diploma with academic honours. And even when you look at this particular hypothetical student's results, you'll see the common assessment results for the subject of sports science aren't at the same level as the others. So there can be a singular subject where there might not be academic prowess or achievement to the same level, yet this particular young man or woman has achieved with academic honours nonetheless. We share these examples with you to show the types of ways in which we map and then proceed to work towards, in partnership with whānau, looking at what the next steps are in terms of learning. For us, it's critical that these common assessment tests have a variety of different skills, of recall knowledge capabilities that our young people are challenged with. And to that end, to experience a test throughout the year, to have to submit a portfolio on every subject, to be involved in collaboration, and then finally to have an examination are vital to us. It's not to say that term 1 in every subject will have a test. Term 1 in some subjects may be the collaborative assessment task, and it might be that later on in term 2 or term 3 that test comes into being. The portfolio could be across a whole year. In sub-subjects it could be done within a singular term. Again, the autonomy of our expert subject teachers to determine what best prepares students for success at NCA level 2 and beyond are vitally important for us. It still remains our intention to offer a dual pathway, as we currently do for a small number of students in Year 12 and in Year 13. That pathway remains the Cambridge curriculum and remains the ability for students in English literature and or in mathematics to be able to study AS and A-level courses. We will continue to do that in order to challenge and extend our top academic scholars. At the same time, there is real desire and intent from us to make sure that for those who are aspiring for the very top in their academic journey, that there is a clear focus on NZQA scholarship examinations. We were delighted last year that our Ducks of the school was in a position to be awarded one of the top 10 scholars in the country. We recognise the hard work that she put into her academic studies and the additional tutorials and the nature of the learning that we do here that prepared her to be successful in that regard. Those particular environments and conditions continue. With reference to NZQA scholarship, the board have also taken the step to recently determine that staff who teach scholarship subjects will be remunerated for the hours that they put in that regard. That is a statement of intent that recognises the additional work that falls upon our staff outside of timetabled periods, be it before school, lunchtime or after school, to help those particular students who wish to explore the greater pursuits of critical thinking and also the difficulty associated with those scholarship examinations. That will continue to form the very focus of what we do around here. So as I conclude, the key sound bites that we wish to share with you is the development of a new program of learning has been in existence of our thinking, wider consideration and design all the way back to the middle of 2021. As we've designed this program, we recognise that success looks different for each and every single learner. And to that end, we must have ways in order to engage those who maybe typically haven't always found the learning experience in classrooms to be easy. And the breadth, therefore, allows them to connect across different curriculum areas. Equally, at the same time, we understand the investment that whānau make to send their sons and daughters here and the desire to have a very robust curriculum that prepares them for all pathways beyond our gates. So the depth of knowledge taught by subject experts, where curriculum areas are studied as individual disciplines, remains the focus for us. We want robust assessment that is challenging, hence the continuation of aspects of assessment such as examinations to really extend our students as they make their way through the school. And ultimately to be in a position where they can have extrinsic motivators. We understand around here the teenage brain, that there needs to be hard work, but then there needs to be a sense of reward. And as they pass over that threshold at year 11, then to be able to be awarded a diploma as an extrinsic and tangible example of the effort that has gone in is important to us, and we know will be important to them. While this evening we've focused on the academic side of the diploma, I will say that coupled with that, in order to gain the diploma in its entirety, the old adages, the old philosophy that we've had continues to be the current and will continue to be the focus moving forward. That is that we want our young people busy, involved in at least 2 extracurricular sports, because being active forms great friendships. It allows our students to push their physical limits. It means they sleep in a more better fashion, and then they return to class prepared for the next opportunity for learning to take place. We want our young people to be involved in service. We see the overall character development as being absolutely critical. To that end, our students here will continue to have Hauora classes, but when Year 11 comes around, we have also created within the timetable space for our Year 11 students, both male and female, to have workshops that prepare for them to achieve the diploma. These workshops include studies in Te Reo Māori for our young girls coming on through perhaps the first time they've experienced that, for our young boys who have already had 2 years of education here, for the continued development and understanding of what is a very beautiful language. At the same time that they are doing that, there are also workshops on emotional intelligence. There are further workshops in terms of religious education and character development as we seek to best prepare our students for Year 12 and beyond. Governing all of that will be other metrics such as 80% attendance at the very least, for we know that a young person who is in class is going to have a far better mindset and opportunity to excel. All of these have been built on in, and we'll continue to provide further details on other aspects of the diploma, not just purely the academic side, in the weeks and months ahead. But we are passionate about this, excited about the new program of learning, and we thank you for your investment of time of being here tonight for us to be able to provide you with this information. Again, this PowerPoint will be available on the school's website tomorrow. The recording of this presentation will be available as a published link on the school's YouTube channel. But for now, thank you so much for your time. Both Mr. Coley, myself, and other senior staff, Mrs. Miller, Mr. Hardman, will be available across the front. Should you have any questions, you are most welcome to come and ask us accordingly. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Kia ora.